Marin Humane Family Dog 1. My name is Dawn Covell. I'm the Director of Behavior and Training, and I'm going to host you through this Family Dog 1 orientation. There are about 4 main topics that we're going to look into today. The first is housekeeping. The second is our management, relationship, training triad, and what to bring to class, and we'll summarize everything for you. This video orientation will be just over an hour, and it's going to include some homework and some video examples. So there's quite a bit packed into it, so take your time and do practice the homework because we will be expecting you to have it. Additionally, you should have received some orientation supplemental materials with links and handout links. So make sure you've got that as well. If not, give us a call. Before you come to class, please send us your vaccination history. That would be the DA2PP, proof of rabies, proof of Bordetella. It's best if you can scan and email to obehave@marinhumane.org, OHBEHAVE@marinhumane.org. You can take a photo and email to obehave@marinhumane.org. Or if you really need to, you can bring it to the first class, but we would prefer to get the paper ahead of time. Additionally, there was a form for a class profile. If you can fill that out, that would be terrific. It gives us a lot of information about you and your dog and how we might be able to customize your class experience so you can get the most out of it. Finally, don't forget to license your dog. Information on that can be found on our website, www.marinhumane.org. As far as coming to class, please make sure and check your registration carefully so that you make sure you're going to the right location. We do have some off-site locations, and we have an indoor and outdoor classroom here on campus. I'll show you a map in just a second so you can see where these things are. We recommend that you arrive early. Arrive at least 15 minutes early to campus, and take your dog for a little leash walk around campus. Let them sniff and go to the bathroom and just have a relaxing experience acclimating to the new space. This is actually a really important step because some dogs are less secure than others, and your dog is going to have the best learning experience if he feels relaxed and comfortable. We do have campus leash rules. Your dog needs to be on leash at all times on the Marin Humane property. We have some fenced-in areas for shelter dogs. We do not have any public dog parks, unfortunately. So your dog should be on leash unless you're in class and the instructor tells you we're going to work on off-leash exercises. For the check-in process, when you arrive to class, please go directly to an open workstation and just sit down and get comfortable. One of our team members will come and check you in. We would prefer that you do this rather than getting some congestion in the front gate area. This map will give you a little bit of an idea about the campus. Your class is most likely in the pavilion or out at Katy Park or Halden Field. If you have some sort of sports class, then you will be probably in the dog sport field. Management, relationship, and training is one of our main topics here. These 3 concepts work together to complete your human-animal bond, really. A lot of this, as you see, is going to be about communication, but we're going to go through these one by one. Let's just start with management with crates. Crates are actually probably my favorite management tool. They're safe, they're secure, they give your dog a environmental cue to chill. They're great for house training. If you're still having some house training issues, then the crate is a good place for your dog to be when you don't know if he's gone to the bathroom or not. As I mentioned, for some of our dogs don't have an off button, so the crate is a way to train them to chill when they're in the crate. If you travel at all, it is very handy having a crate trained dog. There are portable crates that are quite lightweight and handy once you have your dog trained, and taking your dog traveling is much easier if you can take a crate with you. Crates are also very useful for many behavior modification techniques. So if there are behavior problems that you are having and which may occur in the future, it's much handier if your dog is already crate trained. before you start working on the problems. Household management is also one of the benefits of having a crate trained dog. If your dog is still in the chewing phase or tearing up the drapes phase or scratching the carpet phase or chasing the cat, then being able to put your dog in a crate when you're not able to actively supervise can help you lead a more relaxing life as well. We're going to give you some crate training quick tips here. One of the quickest ways to get your dog used to being in the crate is to feed him all of his meals in the crate. And if you give him any delicious chews, feed those in the crate as well with the door shut. So he starts to associate the crate with this amazing place to be. If you find that you like using crates, then you might want to have a crate in multiple locations. Most commonly would be one in the family living area and another one in the bedroom if your dog sleeps in the bedroom. One of the most important things about crate training is that you use crates routinely while you are home. Some people make the mistake of putting the dog in the crate and then leaving. So it's basically the place to keep the dog safe and secure when you're gone. That is all well and good, but if that's the only time you ever use your crate, your dog can come to associate the crate with social isolation, which is not a good feeling. So treat the crate as if it were another dog bed and use it routinely, especially when you're home, so that it doesn't become associated with your absence. Crate size, you basically just want to get a crate that your dog can stand up and turn around comfortably in. One of our first little orientation homework exercise is a crate exercise. So this is how it goes. Basically, you have a handful of really delicious treats. I'm talking the good stuff here. And you put, you want your dog to see you do this. You want your dog to know you've got these treats. He is going to stay outside the crate while you put the treats inside the crate. So you can put the treats inside the crate, just toss them in there so they scatter around, and you're going to shut the door with the dog outside the crate and the treats inside the crate. Ideally, the dog is going to sniff around, poke around the windows, wonder how to get in until he starts scratching and whining to get in the crate. Once he asks you to go in the crate, you can open the door and let him in. You are basically working on the concept of aligning your dog's interests with your own. You want the dog to go in the crate, so figure out a way to want him to go into the crate. This is a good way to try and manage any situation that you want, trying to figure out a way to get the dog to want the same thing. X-pens are another management tool. They fulfill most of the same functions that the crate does, with the exception of it being less secure. If your dog wants to get out of an X-pen situation, they can. Some go over, some just knock it down, and some dogs respect the X-pen quite nicely. The other small disadvantage in my mind to the X-pen is it takes up a little bit more space. And for dogs who aren't house trained yet, sometimes the dogs will potty in their X-pen area because it's kind of large. But it is also useful for management and house training as well. Tie downs are another really useful tool. I think these are worth training as well, and you do need to train them. A tie down is about a 2-foot, give or take, vinyl covered wire that has a clip on each end, and you clip one end to an eye bolt in the wall or a heavy piece of furniture and the other end for the dog. There's a nice bed there, and you would give him a chew toy. So a tie down is a nice way to teach a dog to chill and relax on his bed rather than climbing up on the sofa with you when you're trying to watch television or eat a meal in front of the TV or just enjoy a relaxing family time. So this is one way to create the environment that you would like to see. The one big difference with the tie down from the crate is that the tie down requires supervision, meaning that you can't put the dog on the tie down and then go out. It just isn't safe enough for that. There are 2 other caveats you should be aware of with the tie down. The first is multiple dogs. You don't really want to put a dog on a tie down if there are other loose dogs around because he can't maneuver and he can't get away. So that can put the dog who's on a tie down in a defensive position. However, if you have a tie down for each dog, then that's a great way to manage multiple dog situations. Let's say maybe your dogs will fight over resources. If you give each of them a chew toy, then there's a bit of a rumble. You can put each dog on a tie down with this chew toy, let them chew, then pick up the toys, then let the dogs off the tie down. So tie downs can be used with multiple dog situations if all the dogs have a tie down. The other caveat is our children. A dog on a tie down cannot get away from a child if the child is scaring him or annoying him. So it is best not to use tie downs around young children who might not understand to leave the dog alone when he's on a tie down and has something. Baby gates. Baby gates are another useful management tool. They are used to to keep dogs out of certain rooms. They're useful for house training because when you house train, you want to keep your dog in a very small area so that he is less inclined to soil it. Baby gates can also be used to keep dogs away from the front door if they're barking at the front door. And just any household management. I do recommend that you get the baby gates that have the door in them, however. Another management technique, whether you realize it or not, is exercise. A tired dog is a good dog, so physical exercise is really important. Variety is kind of key. You don't really want to take the dog on the same old walk all the time. You want to mix it up with walks. Maybe if it's the summer, you can play in the water, teach them to swim. You can do body awareness using Fit Paws equipment. You can do interactive play, you and the dog playing with toys. If your dog has a buddy, you can do dog-to-dog play. But basically try and mix it up and try and get them some exercise every day, physical exercise every day. It might not be possible, but if it's not possible, then you can go for some mental exercise. Some great mental exercise ideas are playing scenting and hunting games with your dog. You hide things, generally food or his favorite toy, and he has to go find it. That's a great exercise. You can see that in the picture here, this dog is doing an actual sport called nose work, which is based on scenting and hunting. That is a class that we do offer here and is quite popular with the dogs for sure. So scenting and hunting exercises are great. We're going to show you a little video of a puppy doing his first puzzle toy here in a little bit. And we're also going to show you a hunt game video. Also, whenever you practice your training, you're exercising your dog's brain. And that will also make them tired. So if you don't have time or the weather is too inclement for some physical exercise, make sure to fill in the gaps with some mental exercise. Mental exercise can be as tiring to dogs as physical exercise.
This trick is called an AKC Find It, and can also be used to teach your dog or puppy hunting games for enrichment. Let your dog sniff the treat before you place it under a cup. When placing the treat, only cover half of it at first to make sure it is easy for your dog. You may want to use a bigger piece or smell your treat to make it exciting for your dog at the beginning. Let your dog try to get the treat with his paw or nose. The goal is simply find the treat hidden underneath the object. You can also ask your dog for a sit or down to practice your impulse control behaviors while you set up the treat and the cup. Then give him the cue like hunt or search as you point to the cup to start the game. Once he's good at the cup version, try it with other objects such as a toy or boxes or other novel items.
Chew toys are really important, especially if your dog is still going through the teething phase. If you have an adolescent, you're looking for durable, rubbery toys that feel good on their teeth and their mouth. Again, you want a variety. You want to rotate them out, maybe give him a different set of toys every 3 days to every week. it is really a great idea to investigate some of the toys where you can stuff their meals or some food into a toy. Once they become proficient at getting food out of a Kong or other stuffable toy, then you can start freezing the food in the toy to give you a longer lasting bang for your buck. These toys can be self-entertaining. And they're also good to use in conjunction with the tie down, assuming the toy isn't round and doesn't roll away from the dog. That would make him crazy. Enrichment toys are another way to exercise your dog's brain and body and mind. There's snuffle mats, which are a toy that helps promote the hunting scenting games. These can be made yourself. There's many online sites that will show you how to make a quick and easy snuffle mat, and you just scatter little bits of food in the snuffle mat and your dog looks for them. Then there are a little more interactive puzzle toys where your dog has to figure out how to do the toy. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to show you a puppy doing his very first puzzle toy.
This is Baloo's first try on his own with a food puzzle toy. When you introduce a puzzle toy, make it very easy the first time so that the puppy learns where the food is. Then fill it up and enjoy the show.
Walking gear. Walking gear is also an important management tool because the older and larger your dog gets, the more inclined he may be to pulling and the more you're going to notice it. So harnesses are probably the most popular tool to help manage pulling. If you find a harness with the front clips help deter pulling. And some harnesses also have the benefit of a back clip, which can be used for other things as well. If you have a small enough dog, then you're able to use a vest type of harness. Another tool that you can use is a gentle leader. They aren't quite as popular as they once were, and by once I mean like 20 years ago, but they still will work if a harness doesn't. Although the dogs are less thrilled about gentle leaders than they are harnesses. So try and use a harness. That would be the first way to go. Long lines are a great tool if you are tempted to let your dog off leash and you haven't yet trained a reliable recall. A reliable recall means the dog will come no matter what you are going to see or find. So you really don't want your dog having the experience of being off leash, going to investigate something, you calling him back and him blowing you off. Your dog just learned that a recall is optional and you really don't want that. So the management solution to that is have your dog drag a long line. A long line is basically a leash-like piece of equipment. However, it's longer. It can be 10 to 40 feet, depending on how much length you need. The more length you have, the more cumbersome it is to use. So go with the shortest long line that you can get away with. 15 to 20 feet is a nice place to start. And basically, if you want to have your dog off leash, you let him drag the long line and you need to stay within 15 to 20 feet of him so that if you call him, you can simultaneously step on the long line to make sure that he stops. There's a variety of different materials. The ones pictured here are biothane, and those are very nice because, first of all, they come in nice bright colors. And secondly, they are easy to clean. They don't get moldy when they get wet. And some of the biothane even have some webbing on them to make them grippy. I also like to go with the smallest width that I need, depending on the size of the dog. You don't want the long line to be like an anchor around their neck. You don't want them to really realize that they're wearing it actually. So there are a variety of options for the long line, but it is a nice tool to have until you've got got a recall trained. If you never plan on taking your dog off leash, then you probably don't need this tool. Here's a little photo of management techniques in action. You can see this this young dog, this puppy, has recently been exercised by her wet fur. She's asleep because she's tired. She's got her toys that she chewed on before she fell asleep. She's wearing a harness with an indoor drag line. So indoor drag lines can be extremely useful. Basically, it's just a lightweight leash that you cut the handle off, and your dog wears it around the house so that if you need to move him off a sofa or away from the front door, you don't have to grab his collar. Dogs don't really like having their collar grabbed. It's a bit off-putting to them. So you need to train them to expect that you might grab their collar at some point, and that is the gotcha game. And we're going to show you how to play the gotcha game. It's basically just desensitizing the dog to having the collar grabbed and putting a cue on it so they know what's coming. That is a kindness to your dog, and that way he won't be startled if somebody has to grab his collar unexpectedly.
From time to time, we need to grab a dog or a puppy by the collar, which can be disconcerting to the dog. A little advanced work takes the stress out of collar grabs. Say the word gotcha and reach for the dog's collar. With the other hand, immediately let him nibble on some treats.
Gotcha.
Gently move him around by the collar while giving treats.
Let's just talk very quickly about outdoor hazards or hazards in general. There are quite a few outdoor hazards and indoor hazards, and it's just something you need to be aware of. It might seem like, oh my goodness, my dog is never going to make it with all of these things to look out for, but just they're in the environment, be aware that they're there. Let's move on to relationship. And relationship is a very key concept. Basically, you want your dog to do things because they enjoy being with you, and you have a history of being a fun and rewarding person. So yes, of course I want to hang out with my person. It is important to realize that in order to have a good relationship, you need to have mutual respect, meaning your dog respects you and you respect your dog. He has emotions and needs of his own. It's not just a one-way street where the people are saying, okay, do this, do that, do this. Look at it as trying to develop a partnership. I think one of the best things to do with your dog in order to create a good relationship is to play with him. Of course, it's easiest if you start off playing with your puppy and continuing on through his adult life, but that isn't to say that adult dogs can't learn how to play. It just might be might take a little bit longer. There's so many toys out there, balls and discs and squeaky toys, etc. I do want to give you, I think it's great to teach a dog to fetch things, to fetch anything, but fetching a ball can afford you the opportunity to quickly exercise a dog. I would caution you, however, about using fetch as your sole means of exercise. It can be a little bit hard on the dog's shoulders and body because they're always diving into the ball. So make sure you have a balanced fitness and exercise routine for your dog. You can teach your dog to play disc, toss a frisbee. That's another really fun activity that the dogs who like to play chasey games like your sighthounds and whippets and such, they like to chase things. So disc can be a terrific game. Squeaky toys are fun because they make noise and they have a lovely texture. And we're going to work on teaching a dog to tug. Having a dog that will tug will help you with your recalls, believe it or not. So we'll show you how to go about doing that as well. In fact, your second orientation exercise is to play tug. Finally, there's a flirt pole. A flirt pole is a long pole, and it has a rope on it, and then there's the toy attached to the rope. So you use the rope and the toy to you drag the toy along the ground which dogs love to chase. However, the dogs quickly learn that the flirt pole just goes in circles, and they'll start outsmarting you, but it is fun to bring the flirt pole out, and you can get some really good exercise on your dog with that.
To teach a dog to find toy play with people rewarding, make sure you have the right kind of toy. The toy should be soft and fun to bite with a lot of motion. The handler should keep the toy relatively low to the ground, constantly moving it around and away from the dog. The intensity of the tugging should be initiated by the dog, and a little game of keep away is always fun too.
Meals, praise, and touch. Now, all of us would like our dogs to do things just because we ask them to and we praise them. And the better your relationship gets, the closer you can move to that goal. However, the truth of the matter is you want to have a variety of ways to tell your dog that what they just did was an amazing and wonderful thing and you'd like to see it happen again. So don't underestimate the value of using your meals to do training. Just think of meals as calories, and it doesn't matter if they're, instead of treats, right? You just have calories. Some of it's given in a food bowl, some of it isn't. If you want to jumpstart and accelerate your training program, you wouldn't ever put food in a dog bowl and just let them slurp it up. Rather, you would use their breakfast to have a training session, and maybe the remainder of the breakfast would go in a Kong toy, and then they're put in the crate. So they're practicing their calm crating behaviors. Additionally, you want to build value for praise. Some dogs will work for praise, and some dogs have to learn how to work for praise, and that's often done by pairing food or toy play with praise. Touch is another thing that some dogs naturally really enjoy and other dogs don't. And human beings find this hard to believe sometimes, but not all dogs want to be touched. We're going to show you a couple of videos of praise and food and touch and see if you can tell which dogs would really prefer not to be touched, at least under those conditions.
Good to go, boy. This is a favorite position of his. Pushing his face, his head into my legs. Good boy. Good boy. What a good boy you are. What a good boy. Yeah. Oh, good. Good boy. Shedding. You're crazy. Good boy. Wow, we're shedding. You're really shedding. You're really shedding. You're shedding. You're shedding. You're shedding. Tell me about it. Tell me all about it. This is fun, isn't it? You fun? Oh, shedding. I have to vacuum now. Oh, good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. There's my good boy. Another favorite position of his. Good jobby. Good jobby. Good boy. Good boy. Okay. That was good. This is the end of the video where Lil was offering tricks. And it continued into me introducing touch into a training session. And this is a very different experience for most dogs than just introducing touch in day-to-day life. And this is in slow-mo, so you can see everything Lil's doing very clearly. She is trying to get away from touch, but not quite leaving the vicinity. And then she's thinking, you know what? I would like some more food, so I'm going to come back over here. And she's having conflicted feelings, right? She wants to engage with the food, but she's not so into the touch. Here's the same video just in real time so you can see how quickly all of that's happening. It's really important to see how our dogs act differently when in training mode versus day-to-day life. And this is a perfect example of that.
Socialization is a big part of developing a good relationship as well. And, you know, I like to think of dogs going on outings as opposed to just going on walks. An outing is something that's much more interesting than the daily walk. And while you might not be able to make every day an outing, at least one outing a week where they go somewhere new and do something different. And they can interact and explore novel items. The more novel items you show your dog under conditions where he is being rewarded and not frightened or stressed, the more resilient your dog will be in the event that something negative happens. So, you know, when you go on outings, one of the things that you want to develop is situational awareness, especially if you have your dog off leash. Is the level of training on my recall sufficient to the environmental distractions that we currently have? So situational awareness is something we'll talk about and that you'll need to develop to have an effective off-leash recall. Dog-to-dog play is also a big topic and part of socialization, and this can be really tricky. You know, people tell you, okay, you've got to socialize your dog, you've got to socialize your dog. But the truth of the matter is it's not that easy to teach your dog how to interact with other dogs if you don't have other dogs available. You know, it's great to have dog-on-dog play if your dog can have a buddy. But you want to really be aware of what is good play and what is inappropriate play. Good play is characterized by a nice, soft, floppy body, role reversal, where sometimes dog A is the chasee and sometimes the chaser. Sometimes dog A is on top, sometimes on the bottom. You want to see dogs take natural breaks, play, and they both take a break, and then they start up again. Additionally, you want to see mirrored body language. You see it, this photo shows a little bit of mirrored body language as these two dogs run together. The dark brown dog essentially raised this dog. He was a meat dog from Korea, and she is working on his social skills, and you'll see him mirroring her run.
While playing comes naturally to puppies, they still need to learn how to play appropriately with other dogs. The best case scenario is an appropriate adult dog playing with a puppy. Good adult mentors are extremely tolerant with very young puppies, yet provide more structure weekly as the puppy matures. The nice things about this play session are the relatively low energy and arousal level, the reciprocity of the play, and the safety and trust the puppy feels with this adult as evidenced by his vulnerable positioning. This young male tentatively initiates play and then discovers, oh hey, it's a girl. He appropriately presents himself for sniffing and gets a couple of play paws to the face to indicate that Jiva, the adult female, approves.
Very social. No problem. Oh, look at that fly move.
You can see he is social but cautious as he does zoomies well out of Jiva's range. He would very much like to steal the toy. In fact, Jiva indicates, "Take it if you dare," but he doesn't. She cements ownership by placing one paw over the toy. His avoidance of direct eye contact indicates he respectfully declines to joust for the toy. All in all, nice play and nice, soft, floppy body language.
Here are here's a picture of some inappropriate dog play, really. Now, these are two bully breeds, and bully breeds do tend to play a bit rougher with some body slamming. But in general, you really don't want to see body slamming and that kind of thing. You're looking for a stiff body or undue focus or staring. Staring is a big trigger for other dogs. If your dog wants to stare at another dog, try to interrupt the behavior and don't let him do that. It's very, very provocative. Sustained high arousal where they're not taking a play break. You might have to teach your dog how to take a play break. And lack of reciprocity. If one dog is always on the end of getting battered, that's probably not a good match. We're going to show you a video. We just showed you a couple of videos of some nice play. Now we're going to show you a video of an adolescent male getting some schooling because his play is not appropriate.
This adolescent male initiates a play session by jumping on Jiva, the adult female's head. He gets a growl and a body freeze in warning for his troubles. He wisely retreats, is forgiven, and play resumes. The play is rough and he continues to jump on her, but play is mostly reciprocal until they take a break where he does a shake-off to relax himself. Play breaks are good and should be encouraged. Jiva starts to take more control of the play by forcing him onto the floor, pinning him very briefly, showing all of her teeth punctuated by a sharp bark. You wouldn't want to correct a female for growling or flashing her teeth, as these are merely communication. Our young rake isn't taking the play nicely hint and keeps jumping on Jiva's head. Finally, he is pinned with a soft warning as evidenced by her turning her head away. His final mistake is a short, defiant snap at Jiva's face, which brings out a strong correction on her part. Lots of barking and posturing with no injury done, save to the male's rumpled pride. Finally, Jiva asserts her position by walking over to his towel and toy, sniffing him and demonstrating she could take the toy if she so desired. Jiva's work is done.
So let's talk about dog parks, right? A lot of people don't have friends with dogs who are appropriate, so they are almost forced to go to dog parks. And you want to be really careful with dog parks because they are definitely a mixed bag. On the plus side, you can find other dogs there so that your dog can get some socialization. Now, it is really important to understand that socialization does not exclusively mean other dogs, and it doesn't mean that you should encourage your dog to go up and say hello to every dog. If your dog is on leash, in fact, you should teach him we never say hi to other dogs on leash. That way, the expectation is set, and it helps prevent leash frustration from developing. If your dog's going to meet other dogs, it's best that it happen off leash, assuming they are appropriate. The other nice thing that some people like about dog parks is it can be social for the dog guardians as well. The flip side of that is sometimes the dog guardians are busy being social and they're not paying attention to their dogs. So some bad things can happen at dog parks. Timid, insecure dogs can be easily frightened and have a bad experience. The dogs can quickly develop into a pack and they might pick on the most vulnerable dog there. A new dog coming into the park might get rushed by the entire pack. So if there are a lot of dogs at the dog park that you don't know, maybe that's time to just take a pass. The other thing to consider from a training perspective, if you go to the dog park exclusively, that is your main form of exercise, mental and physical stimulation for your dog, he's getting all of that from other dogs. So that can create a lot of dog focus and it can do that to the detriment of your relationship with your dog. Ideally, we want our dogs to feel that we provide all of the amazing stuff in life. So, it's best to develop a small play group of dogs that your dog gets along well with, rather than risking the hazards of unknown dogs at a dog park. Let's move on to training. Training is basically about communication skills, and this is not necessarily only for your dog. Yes, the dog needs to learn how to interpret our vocalizations, our verbal cues, but we also need to learn how to read his body language and his vocalizations, because he's going to give us feedback, and it's very important to pay attention and understand the feedback that you're getting so you can adjust your training. It is a two-way street, and that's a really important thing to remember. It's not just, us telling them what to do. It should be true communication where we are getting information and they're getting information, and both of us are responding to it. And we go with positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement basically means that if a dog does a behavior we like, we give them something that he likes. And that encourages the dog to repeat the behavior in the future. Now, it's important that whatever we use to reward the dog, be it food or toys or play or some other reinforcer, it needs to be rewarding to the dog in that moment. It might be that your dog loves to play with toys sometimes, or it might be that he likes hot dogs on Tuesdays, but it's just critical that whatever you're using to reward the dog needs to be rewarding to him in that moment. And dogs are individuals, and they're going to have different opinions on different days. So, and if you have multiple dogs, dog A might want something different than dog B. And you can certainly teach your dog to accept a wide variety of reinforcers, but in order to get the best out of your training, you want to be pretty conversant on what your dog likes. So your observational skills are key in this. I mean, it could be water, it could be access to play with another dog, it could be going out the front door, it could be a treat. Those are all examples of things that might be rewarding to your dog and that you can use to reward a dog's behavior. There's also a concept called reinforcement history, and basically that means how much positive reinforcement history is built up for your dog. Again, we talked about resiliency when we discussed socialization, and the more positive experiences your dog has in different types of areas, the more resilient they're going to be, and the more able they're going to be to handle negative experiences. A good rule of thumb is that you want to have 5 times as many positive experiences as negative experiences. So that you kind of have money in the bank, so to speak. Because, I mean, let's face it, somebody's either going to stuff you into a purple Halloween costume or give you a bath or take you to the vet and you end up in a cone. And you want those experiences to be in the minority compared to all the wonderful things that happen. In terms of reinforcing a dog, it's important to understand that dogs learn differently than people do. Dogs live in the instant, and in order for a behavior to be accurately reinforced, the dog needs instantaneous feedback, which if we're giving a treat, it's not going to happen instantaneously. So we've created a bridge, and a bridge is either a clicker or a noise that we make that says, bingo, that's exactly the right behavior that we want. It's almost like writing a check. It's not cash, but it's just as good as cash. Someone's going to provide the cash at some point. So, your third homework for orientation is to choose a marker word and load it. So you can decide to use a clicker. We've included a picture of the clicker here, and it's just a device that makes a little noise, and you would click it the instant the dog does the behavior that you like. These are quite nice to help improve your timing, and they also are very consistent. However, the downside is that it's just another piece of equipment that you have to deal with, and that is off-putting to some people. You can also use a mouth click to try and use a click type sound without having a clicker. Otherwise, choose a one-syllable word like yep, yes, ye, whatever you want it to be. It should be one syllable and it should be fairly distinct from other words that you use. But the critical thing to take away in terms of markers is that timing is absolutely critical. Whatever is happening when you say your marker word is the behavior you just reinforced. So make sure to be very observant and use your marker word quite quickly. We're going to show you a video on how to load your marker or your clicker, depending on which you're going to use. So take a look at that, and that is your third homework assignment from this orientation video.
Timing is crucial when teaching an animal a new behavior. In order to properly capture the instant the desired behavior occurs, we create a marker word which bridges the time between when the animal gives the behavior and when the treat or toy, reinforcer, is actually delivered. A marker should be a single word of one syllable, like yes, yep, good. Well, you get the idea. Notice how the dog's tail starts wagging as soon as he hears the marker word. With some treats in a pocket or a treat bag, say yes, and then move your hand to get the treat. Do not move your hand first. Note that the reward begins the instant you mark the behavior and doesn't end until the reward is concluded. Now that's a nice long reward. Timing is crucial when teaching an animal a new behavior. In order to properly capture the instant the desired behavior occurs, we create a clicker noise, which bridges the time between when the animal gives the behavior and when the treat or toy, reinforcer, is actually delivered. A clicker is readily available, inexpensive plastic dog training tool. Notice how the dog's tail starts wagging as soon as he hears the clicker? With some treats in a pocket or a treat bag, click and then move your hand to get the treat. Do not move your hand first. Note that the reward begins the instant you click the behavior and doesn't end until the reward is concluded. Now that is a nice long reward.
Attention. Attention is another really critical skill that we want to develop right away, because if we can't get our dog's attention, it doesn't matter what cue we give next because they aren't listening. So we're going to work on attention. And attention, you know, it promotes connection and communication. One of the things that you want to be aware of is something called offered attention. And this is, you know, you're out walking with your dog and he just naturally looks up at you. You want to pay attention to that and keep your eye on that out of your peripheral vision. And every time your dog offers you attention, assuming that he's not doing something else negative, you should reward it. You should use your marker word or your clicker and then reward it with a treat or toy or whatever you're using, even though you didn't ask for the behavior. You know, you don't have to ask for a behavior for you to like it. So spend the next 6 weeks, as a matter of fact, every time you take your dog out, maybe in the yard, maybe on the leash out in the real world, every time he looks up at you, yes, and reward. That is going to encourage your dog to pay more attention to you, which is really a good thing. We are also going to teach attention. Basically, we use the dog's name, and when we say the dog's name, we want him to turn his head and look at us. And that is offered attention is your 4th orientation homework, and requested attention is your 5th. And we've got a couple of little videos to show you how to go about doing those.
The Ya-You exercise utilizes the Find It game to teach your dog to pay attention or look at you when you call his name. Getting your dog's attention is a key skill. Say find it and toss the treat several feet away. Immediately after he picks it up and eats the treat, call his name. He should turn his head to look at you as he reorientates to the handler. Mark the head turn behavior with a yes or click or whatever you like to use. Now you owe him a reward, and you can deliver it in the form of a find it in the opposite direction.
Another training tool or exercise behavior is Find It. Find It is a very easy, very fun, super simple behavior, and dogs really like it, and it's useful for a wide variety of things. Find It is basically you're attaching a cue to the behavior of your dog looking for food on the ground. So you toss the food on the ground, you say find it, toss the food on the ground, and your dog redirects their attention onto the ground hunting for this food. So we're back to tapping into the dog's hunt drive. This behavior can help you connect with your dog. It can help you redirect behaviors that you don't like. Find it as a nice alternative behavior. Now, what this means is that if you have a behavior problem that you don't, your dog has a behavior that you don't like, the way to fix it is to decide to find an alternative behavior to ask the dog to do under those circumstances. So, and then you train the heck out of it. And it is easy to train the heck out of Find It because it's so fun and useful. So for instance, your dog wants to bark at another dog when they're walking. You can redirect his behavior, say find it, and he redirects and starts looking for food on the ground. So that is another way to use it. So it's a good behavior modification technique. If your dog is worried about things, then you want to give him more space. Instead of forcing him to go up and check something out, you give him more space to start off with. And Find It is a nice way to both redirect and create more space for your dog. You just do a Find It away from the scary thing. Find It is also a terrific recall foundation skill. It is the beginning of your recall. And that is because you toss the cookie away from you, and your dog voluntarily comes back, and then he's rewarded with another cookie toss. So that patterns your dog to going away from you and coming back. There's also another little variation on Find It, which is called a cookie scatter. And a cookie scatter is basically when you drop a whole handful of cookies on the ground to buy yourself time while the dog hunts. A great time to use this is when you come home. Or a family member is going to come home. You know that someone's going to come home, or even you're prepared with some cookies. You walk in the door, and before your dog can bark or jump or cause any problems, you do a cookie scatter on the ground. Your dog immediately redirects all of that energy that they were going to throw onto you into searching for these cookies on the ground. By the time he's done, and you just move on through and go about your business, by the time the dog is done with finding all of the cookies, he's going to be in a lower energy state and less likely to jump on you and more likely to be able to listen to any cues that you might want to give him, like sit or something else more mannerly. We're going to show you a Find It video so that you can, your next piece of homework is practicing the Find It game. And it's pretty fun, and your dog will pick it up quite quickly.
Find It is a very simple exercise that has many useful applications. Let your dog nibble on a treat and then introduce some movement so that your dog can easily follow it. Once he is following the treat, toss it on the ground a couple of feet away. He should pick up and eat the treat and reorientate to you because, hey, that was fun. As he comes back, get his attention on the second treat and repeat in the other direction. As your dog becomes more proficient, label the behavior Find It before you toss the treat.
Our next behavior that we're going to talk about is sit, which is basically they plunk their rear on the ground when you ask them to do it. We start off with luring behaviors, which means you have a piece of food in your hand and you lift your hand up to bring their head up, which pushes their butt down automatically. We're not pushing ourselves. We don't push the butt down. So we can lure it or we can capture it. Your dog offers a sit. Just like we're capturing offered attention, you can capture an offered sit. Your dog sits, you click it or mark it and reward them. And your dog's like, hey, she likes this sit thing. I'm going to throw it a lot. And that's a nice behavior to have. Once your dog is able to easily get into the behavior of sit, we're going to put a cue on it. And then we add duration, right? We're going to ask them to sit until we tell them otherwise. And then we're going to add distance, which is basically equates to, off leash if you're a ways away. So those are the basic progressions. And we're going to start with sit. And we have a little instructional video for you on that as well.
Using a mat and your find it behavior, we can work on luring a sit. Toss a treat away from the mat, have another treat ready in your hand, and go to the opposite side of the mat. As your dog returns, place the treat right next to his nose. This is called a cookie magnet, by the way. Yes. And slightly lift your hand up to help his rear end into a sit position. When his rear hits the mat, mark it with a yes and give him a treat. You can also give him several more treats while he is sitting to build some duration. Release your dog using both a verbal cue and follow up with a little body movement away. Repeat. Once you're sure that your dog will sit as you lure him, you can label the behavior sit.
Okay.
All right, stationing behaviors. We're going to introduce you to the concept of stationing behaviors. And you see three different types of stationing behaviors here. The black and white, the young black and white dog is on a mat. The brown dog is on a training platform, and the black dog is on a mark, or the silver dog is on a mark bucket. We're going to introduce you to all three of these stationing behaviors, but it's basically using a physical object to anchor your dog in a place. Or you can use it to send your dog somewhere, or you can use these to teach long distance behaviors. So we're just going to acclimate your dog to these pieces of equipment and concepts in Family Dog 1, but they are foundation skills to go on to more advanced behaviors. Part of your homework is going to be to practice with a mat. And a good choice for a mat is basically a bath mat that has a non-slip backing. So that is going to be your seventh little homework assignment. And don't panic. I know there's 7 assignments. Well, there's actually more than 7, but they are quick and easy and fun. And you definitely want to practice them before you come to class, because we are going to start right off, using some of them.
Let's start teaching your dog to go to his bed using a non-slip bed or bath mat. Luring your dog onto the mat using a treat right by his nose. Reward him in place several times, then toss a treat to the other side of the mat. Your dog should pick up the treat, reorientate, and return to you. Make sure he has to cross the mat in order to return. As the dog crosses the mat, mark or click when his feet are on the mat, then give him a cookie. Repeat this process. Mark training starts with teaching your dog or puppy to put his 2 front feet up on a mark bucket or other easy-to-use objects. The dog's job is to stay in position until otherwise cued. You can't really start too soon. Mark or other stationing training is especially useful in multiple dog households, as each dog knows what to do until it's his turn. This reduces anxiety and frustration. Mark or other stationing behaviors help provide clarity and structure both in day-to-day life and in training sessions. This little guy is off to a fine start.
All right, let's talk about what to bring to class in terms of equipment. Please bring your mat that you've been working with. Bring a water bowl. Have your dog on a 6-foot leash. Please don't have a flexi lead. Those are not terribly conducive to training. You may want to have a tab collar, which is basically just a very short leash that just hangs off your dog's collar. You may or may not want that. Bring a clicker if you have decided to use a clicker, or just have your mark word preloaded. Have your dog in a flat collar, and if you have other walking gear that you use, please bring that as well so that we can make sure that it's fitted correctly, and you may need to use it in class. Finally, be ready to have some fun. So, dog training should be fun. You should be laughing and smiling with your dog. And so that's the mindset we're looking for. Food rewards. Now, first of all, let me just tell you, bring more food than you think you need. In fact, bring twice as much. A couple of quart-size Ziploc bags ought to do the trick. That's a lot, right? So skip your dog's breakfast. I know this is hard, but skip your dog's breakfast if you can. If you can't, just reduce it significantly, because believe me, your dog is going to get plenty of food. In terms of types of treats, you want to have a variety. I would say 2 or 3 kinds. And they should be soft treats as opposed to crunchy treats. Crunchy treats take too long to eat, and then they crumble, and then the dog is hunting for crumbs, and then the training session is just gone. So nice soft treats that they can eat quickly. At least some of them should be light colored. We do use, find it exercise and other exercise where they need to look for food on the ground, and if it's highly visible, then they can find it quickly, and you want them to find it quickly so it doesn't interrupt the tempo of your training session. And have them pre-cut into bite-sized pieces. Now, some of them should be very, very small. Most of them should be small, but have a couple of bigger ones, because we do sometimes use bigger chunks of treats. Toys. Bring your dog's favorite interactive toy. Ideally, it's not just a tennis ball or something like that. Those don't work well in class. It should be some sort of tug type toy. It can also have a ball at the end. I've put 3 up here that I like and use myself. And the important thing to note about toys is that they should be developmentally appropriate, meaning there's toys that are best for puppies and there's toys that are best for adults, and developmentally appropriate in terms of where they are in the training. So for example, toys that have a lot of movement, a lot of moving parts, those are best for inexperienced or young dogs because they are motivational. If you have a dog who loves the tug and he's just a maniac about it, then you want a toy that has very little motion. And it might be more like the fleece stick toy on the bottom, or even a toy that isn't quite as soft and fun, like maybe a rubber toy. Those are the toys that you use to teach the dog to give the toy up. So toys, you're going to need the right toy for the job. We'll help you with that. But we're assuming at this point that most toys are going to want to be rather soft and have a fair amount of movement in them. So bring them to class. It's also good if you can have, like, let's say you got the stick toy, right, with the purple handle. Buy 2 identical toys. There's a great exercise that we do that requires 2 identical toys. So if you're going to purchase one, just go ahead and at least with one of them purchase 2. And it's better if it's a more stick-like toy. You may want to have treat bags to carry your treats. The other alternative is you can have a vest with pockets. Just know that your vest with pockets is going to need to be cleaned on a regular basis. So treat bag, vest with pockets is fine. You should also bring something to keep your dog entertained during the human talking times. Dogs find that terribly boring, and so they sometimes respond by vocalizing themselves, and we'd like to avoid this or preempt it. So bring a stuffed Kong or a bully stick or chew toy or a snuffle mat or, all three, so that your dog has something else to do when there is a little bit of downtime. All right, here is our homework. This is the orientation homework. This is just a summary of it. You've got 8 exercises, and all of them are quite short. But when you do your training, you want to make sure and do some training every single day if you can. In order to get the most out of this class and to achieve the goals that I think that you have, practice is absolutely critical. They don't have to be long sessions. They can be 5 to 10 minute sessions, but have a couple a day at least. After each class, you can expect to get an emailed outline summarizing the behaviors that we covered. We may have links to more detailed handouts if some of the behaviors are more complicated. We will also support you with video links on some behaviors, and you will have homework after every class. The classes build on each other, and you can fall behind if you don't practice and figure out where you need help so that we can help you. All right, after Family Dog 1, the world is your oyster, at least here at Marin Humane. We have got obedience levels going up to level 5. I've even been talked into a level 6 from time to time. There's a variety of other classes. There's the animal assisted therapy track. We also offer behavior modification. The Family Dog 1 class is going to focus on training behaviors, whereas a behavior modification session is a personalized session that addresses behavior problems that you're having. So those are 2 different things. We also do offer customized private training here or at your house. So you have a wide variety of options to choose from if you feel that group classes aren't working for your dog. On an advanced note, we do have a very robust sport dog program. We have scenting and nose work classes, which is, we talked about those earlier on with the hunting games. And any dog can do scenting or nose work. They're great for older dogs or dogs rehabbing from an injury or young dogs whose joints aren't ready to do something more athletic. So scenting is really fun. And there's a bonus for the handler because the handler doesn't have to do that much. The handler just needs to stay out of the dog's way and let the dog do what the dog can do. He's genetically gifted with everything he needs. And if you have one of those dogs whose nose is always to the ground, then maybe scenting and nose work is for you. If you have a more energetic dog who needs a job or a function, you might want to consider agility or flyball, both of which are offered here at Marin Humane and cater to the toy obsessed crowd and the high energy crowd. Okay, that's the end of our session today. Please feel free to review this orientation a couple of times and work on the homework. Happy training, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.